and stream. Oh, that scared me.
Sorry.
Oh boy. Anyways, yeah, I go on Twitch. I hope to God I'm funny and I play video games for people or draw. And then I go by the way, I go by he, him pronouns for everyone. Been living in Charlotte for like 2 years now, and I love it here. And what got me into crystals is I've always been into rocks ever since I was a little kid. I'm a trinket person. I like to have things to look at that make me smile. And I just like putting stuff on my shelves. And then yeah, I just always was interested in it. And I'm from Wyoming originally. And so there's tons of rock hounding places in there. And so there was always tons of like rock shops and souvenir stores and stuff like that. And years down the road, I ended up working at the local metaphysical shop in my hometown, which is where we sell obviously tons of crystals. And the people that ran the store were rock hounders themselves. And so they taught me a bunch of stuff. And then the interest turned into an obsession. And so I like learning not only about the metaphysical properties, but also the scientific properties, because I think it's important to know both, which is why I made a giant presentation for you guys today. And as we go through, kind of like how Courtney mentioned, you guys are more than welcome to ask questions in the chat throughout. I'll probably stop in between maybe like every other slideshow just so we don't take too long, because I am a yapper and I will yap forever. And I'll maybe grab a question here and there just to ask that's like, or just to answer that's like maybe a little bit on topic and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive in, and we are going to talk about rocks and crystals, the beginners 101. I'm very excited. Alrighty. So, what is a rock? What is a crystal? I think that's an important question to have figured out before you start diving into rocks. So rocks are actually they're naturally occurring solids or solid mass or aggregate or minerals or mineraloid matter. And for some fun, what's the word I'm looking for? Vocab. Aggregate is just basically it's what most rocks are. It's a bunch of different solids, a bunch of different elements smooshed into one thing. So, you know, your granite, your limestone, your sandstone, your jasper, stuff like that. And then a mineraloid, which is actually something that I recently learned about. So these are kind of like rocks, but not quite. They're minerals, they're naturally occurring minerals, but they don't demonstrate like the similar crystallines of a usual mineral. So think your pearls, your opals, your obsidian, basically stuff that isn't made inside the earth, which I didn't know about. So that's always we're always learning something new. So basically, overall, a rock is something that's made up of two minerals through a geological process. And then, so how is a crystal different? I will tell you. So a crystal is still a solid mineral, but their atoms are specifically arranged in a really specific repeating pattern, which is what people call the crystal system. Easy peasy. And a mineral is a naturally occurring substance with very specific chemical and physical properties. So all minerals are always going to be crystals, but not all crystals are going to be minerals. So, you know, when you think crystal, diamond, apophyllite, quartz, anything, amethyst, you know it. I think this is going to be the most important part of this presentation, which is crystal safety, because I feel like a lot of people don't realize that rocks can be kind of dangerous. You know, we're getting chemicals involved eventually, and there's a lot of chemicals that can be dangerous. And I also think that I'll briefly talk about it, but there are some trends that get really popular very quickly through the internet, as I'm sure we're all aware of, that can sometimes be unsafe. Putting rocks in water bottles. We'll get to that in a minute. So, the first thing I want to talk about in regards to crystal safety is the Mohs hardness scale. If you don't know what that is, it is just basically a scale to tell you how hard and how soft a rock can be. So, you know, at the very bottom, think like talc, stuff like that. That's going to be super soft. Basically, 1 through 3 is anything that you can scratch with a fingernail. 3 and 4, if you can take a penny or copper penny to it, you can scratch it. So stuff like fluorite. 5 through 7, which is typically right around like where quartz related stones are. If you can take like a nail to it or a knife and it can leave a scratch. Topaz, stuff like that is going to be a little bit stronger. And then, of course, at the very tippity top, you know where you love her, diamond. The only thing that can scratch a diamond is another diamond. And that's also how you know if you have a synthetic diamond or someone that's telling you it's a synthetic or a real diamond and it's actually just straight up glass, is if you can scratch it with something else. I think this scale is really important to keep in mind when handling rocks, because, you know, typically if it's softer, you know, it's going to be easier to break. It's going to be easier to crack, to splinter. Rocks can give you splinters in your skin. Or if it's super soluble to water, stuff like that. And you can Google it, and there's a million different images like this on the internet that explain it super easily. So if you're like, I am not sure where it is on here, you can look it up. It's super helpful. Gotta love the internet. Toxic rocks. I hope you guys appreciate my Britney Spears reference. I really hope everyone liked that joke. I like to think I'm a little funny sometimes, even if I'm not. But guys, fun fact, there's over 4,000 minerals identified in the Earth's crust. That's a lot. But you'll come into contact with some that you should probably handle more carefully than others. So I have 3 sections that I created here. Some that you should just wash your hands after, some you should handle with gloves, and some you probably shouldn't own if you're not well informed or kind of like a professional with geology and rocks. We'll start with the hands, well, just washing your hands after. Pyrite and malachite, specifically tumbled. Pyrite is pyrite, it can chip off. You don't want it to just get inside of your lungs. It can be very dangerous. But it's still durable enough that, you know, it takes a lot. It's not, you know, you can't just scratch your fingernail on it. And then with malachite, so malachite is a copper mineral, but when it's tumbled, it's safe. It's not raw. But it's still, I think, just a good practice to make sure you wash your hands after, because you just don't want to take any chances. Also, give me just a second. I'm going to give you fair warning. I have ADHD and sometimes I get a little sidetracked, but I had a notebook with all of the stuff in here on it, my side notes, and I completely forgot because I'm silly. So give me 2 seconds to grab it. Haha. Here we go. It's not me if I don't forget one thing, guys. I'd lose my head if it wasn't attached. All right, there we go. Here we are. So raw malachite, it's composed of copper carbonate. That was the word I was forgetting. Which if you consume dust from it, it can be dangerous, but because it's tumbled, it's safe. So ones you should handle with gloves. These are a little bit more important. Malachite raw. So like we mentioned with the carbon carbonate, say that 10 times fast, it's a lot softer. So it's lower on the Mohs scale because it's raw crystalline. So that dust can actually sometimes cause damage to the nervous system if you ingest it or inhale it or absorb through skin. I know it is so absolutely gorgeous, but I would absolutely always make sure you're handling raw malachite with gloves. Again, better safe than sorry. Another one is galenia, not often handled by a lot of people, but it's basically lead. We don't want lead poisoning. So again, it's kind of similar to malachite where it's, you know, it's the dust particles, but it's on a 2.5 on the Mohs scale. So that's pretty sensitive. So I would wear gloves. The other one is crocoite. Again, not super common, but you do see it in shops and stuff like that. It's this really gorgeous orange one right here that looks like it's made of sugar sticks, and I kind of want to eat it. I won't because it's very similar to galenia. It could cause lead poisoning. And because it has those sticks, they're a lot easier to break off and they can cause splinters. We don't want lead in our system. I think that's a pretty common fact amongst us, probably. And then the other one is stibnite. Now, stibnite is actually owned by a lot of people in the metaphysical community because it is actually a very strong stone for protection. But stibnite is a uh, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but it's an antimony sulfide mineral, which can cause arsenic poisoning. So with stibnite, for me, I actually own some, but I always keep it in my bag or a little plastic baggie, which is how it came. It's how I purchased it. So I use it on my altar. It never comes out of the bag. I just keep it in there. I can take it out and wear gloves, but it's going to do its job perfectly fine in the little baggie. So if you own stibnite, just keep it in a little plastic bag. It'll get the job done. Now we're going to move on to our big baddies of the group. And they're big baddies. Cinnabar. I'm sure you guys have heard of her before. Super gorgeous, almost kind of ruby-like. Please don't own her unless you are a professional. Typically, people who own cinnabar keep them locked up inside glass cases and temperature controlled because cinnabar, if it gets too heated, it can actually exude mercury gas. Again, we don't want mercury poisoning. So just don't come into contact with that one, but it's cool to look at. Another one is orpiment, which I've also seen sold at places, which is crazy. Same thing as cinnabar, or not cinnabar, sorry, stibnite. It is a much more, what's the word, I guess, fragile or easier to cause damage than stibnite because it can also cause arsenic it's an arsenic sulfide mineral, which can cause arsenic poisoning. And then tobernite, which I also just recently learned about myself. But I've seen it in stores, but never thought anything of it. This guy is crazy. It is composed of copper, phosphate, uranium, radon. So it's toxic, it's carcinogenic, and it's radioactive. Talk about being the powerhouse of toxicity. Absolutely crazy. Super gorgeous stone. Always makes me think of dragon scales. But yeah, just a stone probably shouldn't own unless you're a professional with them. Hold on. Did want to come back to this one because I think it's important in regards to toxicity. What's the difference in being tumbled? Is it coated? Yes. So there is, I don't know the exact things that they put inside the water when they tumble it, but it does coat it. But the most important thing with it being tumbled is that it's not as easy to fall apart. So like with the malachite raw, if you see down here, the big bright green one, it's super easy to scratch. I don't know if you've seen raw malachite, but the way that it's formed, all of its crystallines, you could take them and like scratch it if you want. While the tumbled stone has more of like a slight coating and is rubbed down, basically eroded, it becomes softer and much harder to scratch to get that dust that could possibly be dangerous. So that's why with some stones, while I do love a good just raw as it is stone, sometimes tumbled is just easier and safer. Alrighty. Also, another quick safety thing. Please don't put stones in your water bottles. I was gonna do a whole thing about like water soluble and like not water soluble, but I think for the most part it's just keep most rocks out of your water, especially don't drink them even if they are technically water drinkable safe. I just think it's good because you never know what stones are going to have what impurities inside of them. While one stone may have common impurities that are quote unquote safe to ingest or they don't contaminate the water, it could always have a impurity inside of it that you might not be aware of. What would you do if your tumbled malachite gets chipped? Typically for me, if any of my stones get chipped, I often will keep them in a plastic bag. So if they continue to chip, they'll be safe. Or you can even though I'm sure not a lot of people like to do it, you could put just a little bit of like super glue on there or hot glue, just like a little dollop just to make sure it doesn't continue to chip. Just basically any sort of simple glue to fill up the hole that dries clear. So then it doesn't continue to chip and it also, you can't see it as much. I've actually done that with some of my rocks before. Alrighty. So now we're going to talk about What's a clear nail polish? Oh my gosh, Fiona, that's a great idea. Clear nail polish. I love nail polish. We're gonna talk about the difference of man-made versus natural. Also, let me get a quick sip of water real quick. My throat's a little dry. Also, if anyone needs me to repeat something, let me know. I'm very excited, so I'm talking a little quick.
Actually, Logan, there are a
Yeah.
couple other questions.
Mhm.
Laura did ask, what
Yes.
is the difference between a crystal being tumbled and it being raw?
Yeah. So here, I'll go ahead and go back to that visual. Can you see the little blue dot on the screen? Okay, I wasn't sure because I was like, I'm moving this around thinking people can see it, and they might not. So tumbled, this malachite right here is a tumbled stone. So any stone that you see that has is what's the word I'm looking for? Smooth, typically just really soft in texture. Those are usually going to be tumbled, and they're really shiny. As opposed to this raw malachite here, it's it's in its natural state, so it's going to be bumpy. It's going to be all kinds of textures. When you see, I wish I had some more pictures. If you were to Google tumbled amethyst, you're going to see that it's soft. It's more of like kind of like a lumpy shape, much rounder. And then if you look at natural amethyst, it's all in its crystalline points. If that, I hope that explained it. It's a little bit harder when I don't have all the pictures, but the malachite tumble is a great example. Most tumbled stones are going to look like this in shape and texture wise, while any of the raw stones are going to be in their natural crystal system. I hope that helped, Laura. Was
Okay,
there
and
any other questions, Courtney?
yes,
Go for it.
they're coming in very, very quickly.
Yee.
Marinella wants to know, where can these most toxic crystals be found, like states, cities? And Marinella, are we asking about where you can find them naturally or where you may have seen them in stores?
Let's say naturally, I unfortunately won't be able to answer just because rocks are grown all over the world. I know a decent amount of stones. I don't know why.
Mhm.
Come from Brazil actually, which is really interesting, but they come from all over the place. And in regards to like being in states or cities or towns or anything, typically if you look up, metaphysical shop, crystal shop, they're gonna own all kinds because they get them from what's called uh they're called rock markets. My old bosses actually used to go to them all the time. They usually happen twice a year. It's this huge, giant, basically crystal rock convention. They're super cool. And people go and get all their crystals there from all different kinds of vendors. And then they sell them to those metaphysical shops. And so sometimes people who sell crystals don't actually have all the scientific knowledge behind them. They just see a cool rock and they're like, that's pretty. And then they go sell it. So sometimes uninformed people who sell crystals will sometimes sell possibly dangerous rocks, which is why I think it's important to learn about them so that you don't get like arsenic poisoning or something in the future.
Agreed.
Safety first.
Yes. I'm really blown away that there are shops that will sell some of these crystals
Oh yeah,
unknowingly. Yeah.
people
Okay.
do anything just to make a big buck.
Man, okay, but not today. We're about to get really educated. We're gonna know what we're
Not
looking
today.
for. Alrighty. And so we have two more questions that are coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Tritobia, she wants to know, how can I tell by looking at the material if I have a rock or a crystal?
Yeah. So most of the time, I'll go back for some more visuals. I'm a very visual person. So most of the time, crystals are gonna have very unique structures. So all of these are crystals that are presented here on this slide. So as you can see, a lot of them grow in very straight perpendicular sort of shapes. They often grow up and out to the sides. They will have, sometimes they'll come in very geometric shapes. So, like, for example, this raw pyrite here. Pyrite is one of the few stones, like fluorite, that grow in isometric cubic form, which is basically fancy terms for it grow in square. which is super crazy. Same thing with galenia. It grows in like a very square-like shape. So basically, with crystals, the thing to tell them apart is that they grow in really unique, typically geometric or spreading like formations, while a rock, which I don't really have, for example, here, because they're aggregate, think of granite. When it's broken apart, it has a lot of little tiny pockets. It has a lot of different types of colors in it, like as if someone, when you like take clay and you take a bunch of different colors and you mold it all together and mix it up. That's kind of like a rock. It's going to have all different kinds of things going on inside of it, and it typically doesn't have a specific structure. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the crystal is always going to have a very specific repeating pattern, while a rock is just like, I'm going to do whatever I want and whatever the earth tells me to do, which is like a mashed potato form of a rock.
Awesome. All right, and then one last question, then we're gonna let you continue on.
Yeah, for
Cameron
sure.
wants to know, do you have any crystal shops that you would suggest?
Unfortunately, right now I don't. I'm actually myself am on the hunt for a online shop that is ethical, which I'll actually get more into detail about ethical consumption with crystals. Because in the town that I'm in, there's actually lots of crystal shops, but I've stopped shopping from them, mostly just because I'm not 100% sure on the ethicality of the purchasing of the stones. Not that they've done like anything wrong. It's just that me myself, I'm like, I don't know personally, so I'm gonna wait. So maybe in the future for the other rock presentations that I'll do, I'll hopefully have at least an online store that I can recommend that I know is ethical and safe to purchase from. So I will keep you updated, I promise.
Sweet,
Because I
yeah.
also need to know.
Yeah, and if you do find any shops that you do recommend, I can
Mm-hmm.
always send out newsletters for anyone in our community that is interested in that, especially if you are in the North Carolina area, if you're looking for something in person. But if you are wanting something online and we find it, we will absolutely get that information out to you guys.
Awesome. Yeah, that would be great too.
All right.
There are also, real quick, with Rowan's thing, there are some on Etsy. The only thing about Etsy is that it is overrun by bots now. So it's really hard to know if you're purchasing from like just a bot that someone's just fishing money from or an actual person. So
Ooh.
Etsy's a hit and a miss.
Oh, I'll have to talk to you about that one later too, because there is a shop that I have purchased before, like rings and things.
Mm-hmm.
Rings and things, Jesus. Um,
Words hard sometimes.
I know. That I would love for you to maybe help me with taking a little bit of a deeper dive in to make sure that they are ethical. And it sounds like they
Yeah,
are a little bit of a smaller shop, but I will get you that information later on.
totally.
Awesome.
All right. We shall continue on with our man-made versus natural, which I'm actually I'm very passionate about this part of all things. So what's the difference? One's real and one's fake, right? Actually, no. You'd be surprised that that's incorrect. So first, I'll go ahead and just talk about what is a synthetic stone slash crystal. Um, I'm sure some of you will be surprised by this, but most, if not all, synthetic stones, ones that are specifically labeled as a synthetic stone, they virtually have the same chemical composition and crystal structure. Literally, the only difference is that one is made in a lab and one is made in the earth. So I used to work in the diamond industry, and even especially right now, lab grown diamonds are really being pushed forward in the diamond industry. And while I worked in the diamond industry, a lot of people are like, oh, it's fake. It's just glass. It's actually not. Oh, I just realized I did the same paragraph under that. Ignore that. I totally didn't do that. Um, but what they do is they take all the same chemicals. I don't know the exact process because I don't make them, but they basically take all the same chemicals and um, and the minerals that are in whatever stone they're trying to recreate, and basically put it in almost this like little tiny makeshift earth crust, and they heat it up the way that it would in the earth, but it's a much faster process, and they create a lab grown whatever stone. So like for example here, I have a natural emerald and a lab grown emerald. And typically the difference between them is that a lab grown emerald, because it is grown inside of a specifically curated piece of earth, we'll say, it's going to come out actually with less impurities. Sometimes they're going to be brighter, which by preference, some people like the impurities, or the not the impurities, inclusions, but also impurities. But what's also cool about it is that lab grown crystals are always going to be ethical. They're not, it's unfortunate, but a lot of crystal mining is done by slave labor, which is why I mentioned ethical consumption. It's always really good to know where your crystals are coming from and who's selling them, which is why I'm actually a really big advocate for lab grown crystals, because they're done ethically, they're done quickly, and a lot of the time you can actually get really high grade crystals and stones from lab grown creations. Now, the metaphysical part of this, some people have talked about this before, and I wouldn't say it's discourse, but it's just like really debated over. So this is my personal opinion. So I wouldn't take it for fact, it's done by experience. But I personally think that lab grown crystals absolutely have the same spiritual vibration that earth created crystals do. It's made from all the same components. It's still made from, Mother's Earth's creations, heat, dirt, all the same things. It's just inside of a room. And there's actually already man-made stones that are really popular amongst people, stuff like goldstone and bluestone. Those are already man-made stones, and people love using them and feel a spiritual connection to them. So I think lab-grown crystals are amazing, and I think they're actually really great for just the general, not economy. What's the other word? I lost the word, the nature. It's not, we're not using slave labor. It's not being mined where there's a lot of chemicals that are used to dig for those, which mess up with the ozone layer and greenhouse gases. It's just a whole mess. And that's why I'm passionate about it. Were there any questions for this one?
Angela just wrote GMO crystals. So genetically modified crystals.
Basically, yeah.
So we have organic and GMO.
Wait, I love that.
And then
that's fantastic.
And let's see, Laura just made a comment. She said, I've got a moissanite, I hope I said that correctly, with a certificate of authenticity.
Oh,
have the certificate.
That's so cool.
Neat.
Yeah, I've actually never seen a crystal that came with an certificate of authenticity. That's super cool.
Laura, if you still have the information, can you drop where you purchased that?
Yeah, that would be super great.
Excellent. And then Rowan also wrote in, yeah, it used to be much better. The one I've seen is I Love Lotus. And I think Rowan was referring to maybe like an Etsy shop, because it looks like it came in during that time.
Very cool. I will absolutely keep that in mind as well. Oh, and before I forget, the other small note that I wanted to say about the lab grown crystals is that they're actually also going to be, sorry, I drank water and I burped. They're much more affordable than the naturally occurring emeralds, because there's much less labor that goes into it, which is why a lot of lab grown diamonds are also being pushed forward more, because they are super affordable as opposed to naturally occurring diamonds. Win-win. No slave labor, and they're cheaper. Yay!
That is a win-win.
You really can't go wrong.
Excellent.
All right, now we're going to get a little bit more into the metaphysical aspect of crystals. Very exciting. Shapes. I promise we are not doing a geometry class. I failed that in high school. I won't do that to us or myself ever again. So I'm going to talk about some really easy to work with beginning shapes of crystals that are often used for tools. So there's hundreds of different shapes that crystals are carved into. I'm sure you've seen them: animals, statues, plates, wands, all kinds of stuff. But we're going to talk about these three specific ones because I think they are super, super versatile. And I genuinely think anyone, no matter how you feel about where you are on your spiritual or rock journey, can use them. The three of them being our crystal tower, a point, and a double terminated point. So with a crystal tower, it is a crystal that's carved specifically into a 4, 6, or 8-sided tower with a flat base. So it's going to be perfectly smooth. It is specifically carved all over to make that nice, perfect pointed tower, which is this beautiful moonstone that's right up top of here. And then a point is a naturally formed point with a carved flat base. So this quartz here, this is exactly how it grew. It's just that someone cut it out of its growth and then just made it perfectly flat. And then a double terminated point is where both sides end in a point. A lot of the time, they'll do it where one side is thicker than the other, but they can also be perfectly even on either side. And so I'm going to tell you how these guys are often used. So one way that you can use them is you can hold the point in your hands, whichever one it is that you're working with. This can be applied to all of them. You're going to visualize your intentions, and you can point the tower or the point itself in a specific direction, and it will project up and out into the universe. Another one that you can do is you can point the crystal specifically at yourself to move energy into yourself, or you can even move it out of. Specifically with the double terminated point, I think they're really cool because they're often used to help transfer energy between two different targets. So, for example, if I don't know how often you would do a type of practice like this, but just one that's off the top of my head. Let's say you were working with someone to help move energies in between or emotions. Some people do it to be like, sort of, walk in their own shoes. It's to kind of like, you get what I'm saying. I'm just going to tell you how it works. People will put the double terminated crystal point in between the two people, whether they're sitting or laying down, and they'll use it to move energy to the other or even swap energies. And the reason why I think these are so powerful is because that point is, it's all about pointing in a very specific direction. So it's all going to go one way. There's no, curvature. There's no going around something. It's all just going straight into whatever it is that you are focusing on. The other cool thing is that, as I kind of just mentioned, they're super helpful for focus because you were getting to the point of something. So specifically like crystal towers or the points, because they stand, people have them. I mean, I have like 3 off to the side. I'm sure maybe some of you have them. They're really great to have in places where you study or in your office, and specifically even fluorite points and towers are really helpful. Fluorite is super helpful for focus. I'll talk about that one later because it's also one of my favorite rocks. So having that nearby, they're super, super great with helping you stay focused on whatever it is that you're trying to work on. And they're just, I love these kind of shapes because they're just so easy to work with. All right. Any questions, Courtney?
Let me see here. So, well, Tertopia wanted to say this has been very educational. They're having a good time.
Thanks.
And Fiona says, stronger as well. I busted my natural oh my goodness, tongue tied today. I busted up my natural sapphire, but my lab grown is like a diamond, not a scratch.
Actually, that's also true because so naturally occurring stones, they have those inclusions inside of them, which makes it more eligible to be broken because those inclusions are little tiny cracks that just naturally happened while it was growing. So the more of those, the more of a possibility it is for it to, crack further onto the outside of the stone, while a lab grown thing is going to have less inclusions, so less possibility to be broken. Even more wins for the lab grown stones. Let's go. Guys, we reached probably the best part. We're actually going to talk about specific crystals and what they do and all the really cool metaphysical stuff. I know it is what you've been waiting for, and we're finally here. I also see one quick question. How do you feel about the crystal growing kits? And thanks for all the information. You're so welcome, Tammy. Um, I think they're cool. I If I had more money, I'd be buying them more and also growing crystals because I think that's neat. Because usually it's stuff like amethyst and just crystal and stuff. So they're typically very safe things to grow. Never used one myself, but I think they're really cool, and I think it's a really cool way to learn about the process of crystal formation. All right, guys, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty of this. It's the beginner crystal time. I also absolutely had too much fun decorating each of these slides, and you'll start to see them slowly get more and more extra as it goes on. Um, so we're going to start with the queen, the main baddie. You know her, you love her. It's clear quartz. I can't stress enough how good clear quartz is and how well rounded and how useful this absolute queen is. So clear quartz. Also, each stone I've added the birth month that they are associated with. There are some that are like substitute stones, so they're not like always associated with that month. And I've also listed the Mohs scale of where they are. I typically have them in the top left corner. So the birth month for clear quartz is for our April B-Day people. And then quartz, all variations of quartz are going to be on the 7 scale for Mohs. So they are pretty durable. They can still break. So I always recommend, being careful with your stones, but you're not going to breathe on it wrong and it's not going to crack. So clear quartz has another name called the mother stone. The reason why is because most stones start by being clear quartz. Not all of them, obviously, but a good majority. There's, smoky quartz. There's rose quartz. There's amethyst. There's citrine. There's rutilated quartz, terminated quartz. I mean, it goes on and on. So it's called the mother stone because it's almost like it births different types of stones to be created. And what's also great about clear quartz is that it is so easy to work with. It can be attuned to anyone because it is just so adaptable. And what I mean by being adaptable is I'm going to kind of skip over these and my notes on the bottom here. You can use it to actually replace other stones with your intention. So let's say, I know there's people that do like crystal grids or people that are doing, they do spell jars and stuff like that. And you can put crystals inside of it. Let's say you're like, oh, I'm missing, I don't even know, just a random rock. There's a specific rock that you're missing that you really wanted to add to this. You can actually use clear quartz to replace that with the intention that you put into it. That's exactly, it's like a universal stone. You can use it to replace other things because it is just so adaptable and it's just so powerful, but it's so easy. I love her. Now, some metaphysical properties that is often used to work with clear quartz. It illuminates a path for you to work with, kind of like how it allows impurities to grow. And by the way, I just realized I've been saying impurities, but haven't really explained them. That's my bad. Super easy. So impurities are smaller chemicals or minerals that are inside other rocks that change the compound of it, usually by heat. So just a quick example, I'll talk about it again in another slide, but amethyst is clear quartz with, oh my gosh, I just forgot it. Not titanium. Oh no, I know this. Iron, there it is. Amethyst is clear quartz with iron impurities. And so when that iron gets heated up, it's what changes to purple to create amethyst. So that's what an impurity is, just basically a smaller chemical or mineral that changes the overall chemical compound of whatever crystal or rock. So that's why, it illuminates path for you to work with, kind of like how it allows impurities to grow and work with what's around it. The main thing is overall, which kind of is like the illuminating clarity. Clear quartz is going to help you be able to clear your mind, rise above erratic thoughts. It's going to help you not feel misguided. It's going to be able to show where you need to go. Also, each slide I will have a crystal practice, which is something that you can do with that specific rock to do a sort of like spell or just an overall daily practice with it. And I did get some of them from a specific book that I do have referenced at the end. So fret not, my book baddies. I have a slide prepared for you specifically. So the crystal practice that I would recommend for clear quartz is literally just wear it. You can get a clear quartz pendant from just about anywhere. And most of the time, the clear quartz, you don't really have to worry about it being, like just glass, because it's one of the most common minerals that grows on Earth. Like the abundance of clear quartz that is on Earth is absolutely like astronomical. So they're super easy to come by, and it's just so simple. By wearing it, you're covered. Mama's got your back. Another one is just set it by your bed. It'll help with sleep. It could help with clearing your mind so that when you wake up, maybe you won't be like me, where you don't even know how to speak English or walk properly. So this is also the sign for me that I also need to put clear quartz by my bed. All right, rose quartz. Oh, gorgeous, pink, the Barbie of the stones, if you will. So its birth month individual is January, much like clear quartz, because it is a type of quartz. It's on the Mohs scale of 7. So rose quartz, can't stop thinking about her, is clear quartz with titanium impurities, which is what turns it pink. I'm sure you already know this, but rose quartz is the stone of unconditional love for yourself and others. Also, the zodiac sign I was trying to say like 3 different sentences at once because I'm just really excited. I picked a zodiac specifically for each stone that I personally think works best with it. Obviously, any stone can work with anyone, but I personally have curated a zodiac for each stone that I'm like, if you're this stone or if you're this zodiac, I think that this rock could work really well for you. So that zodiac that I picked for rose quartz is Cancer. And I'll get to that in just a second. The other things that rose quartz helps with is patience and understanding and compassion. It allows you to just be able to look at things from a different perspective and not get so I think it's good to be emotional, but not over emotional to the point where you're overlooking specific details and situations that you're experiencing. So while it is the stone that's, about love and emotion, it's also about being able to control that love and to control that motion. In regards to a shape that I think works really well for rose quartz, is actually heart shapes. A little cliche, but I love a good cliche. Which brings me to, it's also sometimes called the breakup stone. Tons of people actually buy rose quartz when they're going through a breakup because they need that love. And which is why, it's not only love for others, but it's for yourself, which I think after breakups, we need to love ourselves a little bit more. Which the crystal practice, so you can place rose quartz in your room to help with bringing in love, or to even heal from loss. And that can be a bunch of different types of loss. Just whatever you feel like you've lost, rose quartz can help you kind of fill that hole, which is why I think the heart shape is also really nice. You can just set it in your room and it's just going to kind of help, make you feel good. And so Cancer, water sign, we all know water signs are about that emotional. I'm a Pisces. I'm guilty of it. We got emotions all over the place. And stereotypically, I think Cancer kind of gets a bad rap for their emotions. They have a stereotype for a reason, I suppose. But Cancers are really about going with the ups and downs of their emotions and really expressing it outward. And so I think rose quartz is really helpful for Cancers to kind of, take these big feelings and be able to look at them in a different light and to be able to express them in a way that is much more effective and communicative with the people around them. Cancer, Sun, Pisces, Moon. I am praying for you. I'm praying for you. I'm sending you so much love and patience, my good friend. All right. Next stone. Amethyst, a classic. I'm sure we've all owned an amethyst at some point in our lives. They are everywhere. They are beautiful. And I'm sure you've noticed that there's only 3 points about amethyst. And that's just because amethyst does very few things, but does them so well that it's just like, what more do I need to say? They get the job done. Before we get into that part, birth month is for February. And they're Aquarius. That's the month of the Aquarius. As someone who has a best friend that's an Aquarius, I give him amethyst all the time, whether he wants it or not, because he needs it. And then same thing with the rose quartz and the clear quartz, Mo scale 7. So, as I kind of mentioned before, amethyst is clear quartz with iron impurities that's been heated up inside of the earth or lab, which is what transforms it into that gorgeous purple color, that rich, beautiful purple. So, what an amethyst can do for you, and what it does so well, is give you a peace of mind. She is going to be there for you to calm the hell down. Amethyst helps specifically with these 3 things, which is anxiety, depression, and insomnia. Anytime when I was working at the metaphysical shop and someone would come in and be like, I've just been really struggling with, my anxiety, or I've just been really feeling down, I'm going to slap an amethyst in their hands and say, you're set, go home. Don't even worry about it. It's just such a powerful stone. And I also think that color is really important to spirituality or just the overall like zen of things around your room. I mean, color theory is a thing and it can be applied to everything. Scientifically, metaphysically, psychologically, it's a thing. And purple is often associated with spirituality. It's very attuned with that fact. And because of that, I think that's one of the things that makes this stone so powerful, is because that purple is just so rich and imbued with spiritual associations, which is why the crystal practice that I chose for it is placing amethyst under your pillow at night to help with your insomnia. I've done this before. I love it. I've struggled with insomnia my whole life. And some nights where I'm just like, I need a little extra help, I will place that amethyst under my bed or under my pillow. And usually I will have a better night's rest. Typically, you'll want to cleanse your stone every once in a while, which I'll also explain that later. And the reason why I picked, well, I didn't just pick, Aquarius is associated with amethyst. And I think that's because, Aquarius are often, they're an air sign. So they're associated with knowledge, what's in the mind. They're very logic based, they're often people who are activists, they're speakers. They don't just think, they do it. But I think because they are so logic based, I think Aquarius and just kind of air signs a lot in general will often sweep their emotions under the rug for a lot of different purposes. Specifically Aquarius, I think they sweep their emotions under the rug because it's not what's logical or what's fact. And again, these are sometimes stereotypes. This obviously doesn't apply for every Aquarius. But, I love Aquarius. It's my favorite zodiac sign. And I've met a few Aquarius in my lifetime. And I do think that the majority of them are like, this emotion is annoying and it's getting in the way of the facts that are right in front of me. But emotion can be a part of the facts. And I think the amethyst is really important to help Aquarius process those feelings, but also still be logic about it. Also, I've never met an Aquarius that doesn't have insomnia. Please get an amethyst if you have your Aquarius. I know you can't sleep, right? Courtney, I see you reacting over there.
I mean, I've known a few Aquariuses as well, and
they can't sleep.
No, they can't.
My best
They
friend doesn't produce a single drop of melatonin in his body.
just busybodies. Just
Literally, just constantly going.
uh-huh. Oh.
Laura, do the shades of darkness, intensity, dullness, or lightness play in factor with the strength of an energy in a crystal? Um, for me personally, I don't think so. Um, I mean, I've worked with crystals the majority of my spiritual time, and I, for me, have never really had an experience where, let's say I had a really dark amethyst and then a really light amethyst. I never really had a different reaction from them. Now, this is me personally. A lot of people have, different spiritual practices and opinions about their stones. Um, like, for example, there's a lot of people that think certain rocks can't work with each other, which could be true for them. That's just, how they work with them. For me, I have all of my rocks in one little section, and they're going to get along whether they want to or not. That's where they're sitting. So it's all just kind of depends on your process and how you experience things. All right. Citrine. Sometimes, sorry, this is just my humor. I sometimes call it the pea rock, and that's okay. We all pee. So, citrine, gorgeous, gorgeous yellow, sometimes orange. And I'll talk about why. We sure do. We sure do. I'll talk about the different colors with citrine here in just a second. But first, birth month, November. And then our Mo scale again, 7. So citrine is just heated amethyst. Fun fact. So citrine has that iron impurities, but it's just amethyst superheated that eventually transforms into yellow, which you can see here. This one is a super light yellow, almost like it's a lemon, while we have a super orange citrine. Both of them citrines. I promise, they're both citrines, but one naturally occurring citrine is actually a lot harder to come by. Typically because the heat level that it has to get to become this natural yellow, they're going to be much closer to the Earth's core, which can be a little difficult. It's a little toasty down there, which is why a lot of people will get amethyst and superheat it inside of a lab. And that's what makes it turn orange, because it's heated up much faster as opposed to this light yellow, which is a very slow, gradual heat process, which is why you get 2 different colored citrines. Let me take a quick sip of water real quick. Okay, so citrine is often referred to the happy stone, because when you think of yellow, you think of sunshine. It's just a happy color. It's associated with the smiley face. It's just a good, bright color. You just don't feel upset when you're looking at yellow, unless you just really hate yellow. I don't understand it, but to each their own. So the reason why it's called a happy stone is that the stone just radiates joy. It's all about abundance. It's able to create this sort of vibration that just allows yourself to feel lighter. And what it does for people as well is it actually absorbs negative energy and transforms it into a positive, which is kind of like, so earlier when we were talking about points, all those points, their jobs spiritually are projecting out whatever it is that they're supposed to do, which is why I just think points are one of the most powerful shapes. The other thing about it is that because it helps you work through your negatives to turn them into positives, it helps you choose happiness, which I think is really powerful. It doesn't seem like it would be a huge thing, but I feel like a lot of people don't choose happiness. And I think it's really important that we actually choose to go that path as opposed to just kind of sitting and rotting. Don't get me wrong, I'm guilty. I've done a good rot in my life sometimes. I'm not perfect, but I think it is important for us to choose happiness. So a crystal practice that I think is really cool. So this one actually has specific steps. So you will blah, 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 trying to start 3 sentences at once. So what you'll do is you'll hold citrine in your hands while standing in the sunlight, and you'll say, "I choose to be happy 3 times because we all know 3 is a very magical number. Then you're going to place that bad boy in your pocket or a bag, or for my rock booby people who love to put rocks in their boobs, you can put that there too. You can, when you see it, you'll remind yourself to choose happy. And by the way, citrine is safe to put in your boobs because it's not water soluble. So there you go. You're welcome. The zodiac sign that I associated with citrine is Sagittarius, fire sign. Sagittarius's, I have a little bit of a, I won't say negative, but biased view because I'm a moon Sagittarius and it's tough out here, y'all. But Sagittarius, they're a fire sign. They're people who are more often than not gonna be sociable. You know, even if they're, you know, not 100% sociable, they like to retreat and maybe then go back out and be sociable and then come back in to recharge. But they're typically people who are lives of the party. They have a spark to them. You know, Sagittarius is, you know, when you see someone and go, oh my God, who is that? So like 8 out of 10 times, it's probably a Sagittarius. There's just something about them that's alluring. But you know what else they might also be? A little flaky. Sagittarius is, they can't make a decision to save their life. Again, Sagittarius moon. I get it. I get it. Rowan, Sag Sun, Pisces moon. We're swapped. We are one side of the coin, or each side of the coin, Rowan. We complete each other. We understand each other on a different level. You know, they have a really hard time sitting in one spot or focusing on one thing. They're kind of spread out, if you will. And I think citrine is really helpful for Sagittarius because it helps them choose what's good for them, which isn't spreading themselves out so thin or letting their fire burn them out. It's going to help them reel in that sort of erratic energy and transform it into something that's going to make them feel more stable within themselves. Again, no hate to my Sagittarius out there. I love y'all. I think each zodiac sign can be as equally messy as another.
And Logan, real quick, Shara did have a question. Shara wants to know, are citrine and carnelian related?
I don't think so, because if I'm might not be 100% correct. Just mostly just because I haven't looked at the actual like formation of carnelian, but I'm pretty sure it's like it's somewhere in that agate family, which is, oh no, I think it's part of the chalcedony. I actually think I wrote about that in one of these slides, which is sort of like a silicate, which is quartz, but it has a different type of formation. So I'm sure there's like some relativity there, but for the most part, I think they're pretty separate from each other. More water, gotta hydrate. Okay, smoky quartz. I love smoky quartz. I just think he's neat. All right, so smoky quartz birth month is June. Same thing, low scale 7. I'm sure some of you already know this. Oh wait, first let me get to the scientific properties of smoky quartz because I think it's important. So smoky quartz is also a clear quartz that has aluminum impurities that's been superheated to turn clear quartz into that rich, smoky, sometimes almost black, but almost that really dark brown color. So smoky quartz is a protector. This guy's got your back. He is about grounding, letting go of the past. Smoky quartz is going to take your negativity to clear mind fog. So what citrine did is that it brought in the negativity and it transformed it into positive, while smoky quartz takes in the negativity and holds on to it for you, as opposed to releasing it, which is why for me personally, working with citrine can be helpful in smaller situations or things that are kind of troublesome but aren't too like detrimental. It's a lot, it's you know, it's easier to be able to turn something positive if it's not too drastic or too bad. While smoky quartz, its job is to take in the negative and just to keep it away from you. Which is why here at the bottom I wrote it's important to cleanse regularly, because it's not transforming, it's not letting go, it's taking what you need gone away. And then I wrote here some different types of cleansing that you can do. Um, so a very common one is a moon bath, which is where you set your stones out at night to bathe under the moon. Um, there are some people that will say, "Oh, sunbathe your stones." Please don't ever put your rocks out under the sun. Under the sun. Um, Not all rocks will be damaged by light, but a good majority of them will. And I think it's just safe to not cleanse your stones in the sun, or to even leave them out. A lot of rocks will lose their color. Some of them will become brittle and actually crack over time from the sun and being dried out as well. So if you want to do an outside cleansing, also some people cleanse their stones by, I actually didn't write this down, I just thought of it, by burying them in the dirt actually and keeping them there for a little while. But either the dirt or the moon, please do not put your rocks in the sunlight unless you just want piles of really light colored dust eventually. No one wants that. Another one you can do is a water cleanse with water safe stones. I know I didn't do the full walkthrough of that. Um, I don't personally usually recommend water cleanse, but there are some people that really do work well with water and really like to incorporate it. But it's really easy just to Google real quick, what rock is water safe. Another one that you can do is a sound cleanse. You can do a smoke cleanse. Another really easy one that I think, I mean, obviously anyone can do it. You don't need anything special. You just need you, yourself, and I would say me, myself, and I, but I guess it's just you and yourself. You can hold a stone in your hands and then imagine a beam of light hitting the stone and then using your intentions to cleanse out the negativity inside of it. So you yourself are the conduit for cleansing it. A crystal practice for this, another one that I got from the lovely crystal book at the end. Step one, you're going to hold the smoky quartz in your non-writing hand and write down all the things you want to let go in your life. Step two is you're going to read your list. You're going to say it out loud, and you'll say, I let go of whatever it is you're trying to let go. Three, you're going to visualize your crystal absorbing everything you want to release from your life. Four, after you're done, you're going to rip up your list. You're going to throw that bad boy away. And then five, you're going to place your smoky quartz in the moon for 4 hours to cleanse it so it lets go. And actually, I will say real quick, this crystal practice that I got from Crystals 101, which is a book I do recommend, it actually says in the book to place your smoky quartz in the sun for 4 hours. I made sure to change that. I don't know why they said that, but they did. I still recommend the book. It's a great book. But again, if it says put it in the sun, don't do that. It's a no-go. I have actually the chat pulled up too.
Yeah, there's a lot of questions about the cleansing. So let me actually let me go on back.
Go for it.
So Akin wrote, I heard somewhere that you can also cleanse stones by saging it. Is this true?
Yeah, so you can sage it. I will say I do recommend using just regular white sage or any other herb. It's very, very, very important to know, and it's if you're really new with just a lot of spiritual stuff in general, it's really important to learn what is a closed practice and what isn't. Using white sage is very much so a closed practice and used by Native Americans. Which is why you can use or is it white? It's not white sage. There's other just like common sage that you can use to burn. There's a bunch of it that actually grows back in my hometown in Wyoming. But honestly, any herb is perfectly fine to use. Just make sure that you're not using specifically those big bundles of white sage. And it's also just really good, just side tangent, to look up closed practices, just so that we're making sure that we're respecting other cultures.
Yeah, and if you are someone who likes to use like sage or maybe can't get your hands on it, especially if it's like the common sage. You can go and get incense sticks as
Mm-hmm.
well. That'll be Palo Santo, Dragon's Blood,
Excuse me, sorry guys.
all sorts of stuff. That's really great. I actually have my own little collection, this little coffee table over here. So you can absolutely use that. And sometimes it's actually a little bit more economical as well.
Mm-hmm. I love incense, and I know there's also a lot of people who can't do the smoke. Um, um, but sometimes you can use oh my god, I just forgot the word. Essential oils. I know that's also kind of a liquid. But for some stones that are water safe, some people have used essential oils, just and I mean just a tiny drop to rub it, and then they rinse it off. I wouldn't do that with like fluorite and stuff like that because it's very water soluble. But that is another option if you're someone who likes to use essential oils. Um,
Ooh, actually, I
so
really like that. I also wonder if you're worried about putting like liquid on it. If you had like a essential oil burner, and then once you're able to smell the fragrance, if maybe you
oh
just kind of held
yeah,
it over it, so that way you kind of have like a liquid and smoke cleanse, but it's not.
but it's not, and it's still safe for your lungs.
Yeah.
Not saying that uh incense is bad for your lungs. I just know some people have sensitivities to
Hmm.
that. So,
Hmm.
but Courtney, that's a great idea. Look at us.
Thank you. Thank you. And then Laura actually has a really good question.
Mm-hmm.
She put, I put mine out in the eclipse. Was that bad?
I don't think so. Absolutely not.
Yeah, I did ask her if it was the lunar or the solar. She said solar. It's when she put it out there, but
I bet that probably did a super powerful charge. That stone's like, I'm ready to go.
agree. Shara wrote in, I was taught to charge in the sun and full moon. Is that not good?
Um, I would I would do your best to not do the sun as much as possible. If you really feel like it does something for your connection with your stones, totally understand. I would just make sure that you really only do it every once in a while and maybe only for like an hour. Because your like I said, your colors can fade with some of your stones. Some are safe to put in the sun, but the ones that are the amount of ones that are safe are significantly less than the ones that aren't sun safe. And like I said, it could also those stones could become really dried out and really brittle and break over time. So I don't want your rocks to break because it's very sad.
We want to take care of them.
You want to. They are your children now.
And then Joaquin wrote in basically what about an essential oil humidifier? So I guess one that actually gives off a bit of
Oh
steam.
yeah.
I guess that would that be safe? Because I don't think it would be a lot of moisture
No, I think
on
that
your
that would
crystal.
be I still feel like a lot of the stones that are really not water safe, like ones that are really low on the Mohs scale, um maybe not so much just cuz I don't know how much liquid they can take. Um But oh, Laura, thank you. I actually should have mentioned that. I do talk about it way later, but I should have added to the list. Selenite is also a great way to cleanse your rocks as well, and just having it around. We will definitely go into more detail about Miss Selenite later, though I promise. But can't believe I totally forgot. Laura, thank you so much. Yeah, selenite's a great way to cleanse your crystals too. All you got to do is just set it next to the rock. Bam, you're done. All right, am I good to? I'm gonna continue on. I can't remember who's next in line. My favorite. Oh, I'm so excited. Oh, guys, I love fluorite so much. It's so good. Oh, I got excited. um, Fluorite. I just think fluorite is one of the coolest rocks ever, not only spiritually, but also scientifically. I just think they're so cool. I have a huge chunk of raw fluorite, and it's my favorite in the collection. All right, so fluorite, birth month. So this one is one that's not usually used as a birthstone, but it is an alternative for February if you know that's something that involves you. So I mentioned this term earlier in the presentation. Fluorite is one of the few stones that naturally grows in an isometric cubic form, which, as you can see in this bottom right corner, squares or cubes, I guess more specifically. Fluorite just naturally grows like that. That's not something that's man made or man influenced. They just grow like that. It's insane. It blows my mind that it just does that. Um, and as you can see up above in the bigger image, fluorite comes in a lot of different colors and sometimes in just one stone. Sometimes they do come in one solid color, but a lot of the time, what this is referred to as rainbow fluorite is when it has all the different shades of fluorite, commonly known, in one stone. So the reason for that, I have a burp. I'm sorry. I'm muted. We're good. So the reason why it does that is because the squares that it grows, or the cubes, I keep saying square, 3D form, whatever. The cube grows and then it stops. And then it grows another cube and then it stops. And then it grows another cube and then it stops. Looks kind of yummy. Yes, fluorite looks like a candy that I want to eat. You are so valid in that statement. um, so when those cubes grow and then they stop, sometimes those different cubes have different impurities, which means different colors. So that's why fluorite grows in these gorgeous layers of different colors. It's crazy. So again, this is a biased feeling, but the reason why I love fluorite so much is not only because of how it grows in the colors. If you have ADHD, I need you to go buy fluorite right now. Don't walk. I need you to run because this stone is the stone for my ADHD baddies out there. All right. It's so crazy how helpful this rock is. I have so much fluorite in my office. It should be illegal. I love it so much. It helps so much in focusing. Its whole job, and it's because of the fact that it grows in cubes. So it's a lot of the time very even all the way around. It's very specific in how it grows. And it does all of those points, which, as we mentioned before, those points are what hone in on that focus. And as we know with a cube's got a lot of corners. And so it's going to help stabilize energy to keep you concentrated. It's so freaking cool. I love it so much. And one of those crystal practices that you can use with fluorite is you can have fluorite on you while you meditate to help concentrate. And now I use meditate very loosely because I know meditation can look very different for a lot of different people. Some people can do the sit down, close your eyes, and just sit there for a while. I cannot. I'm sure you're all surprised. But again, have that fluoride on with you, and it's going to help you stick to your practice a little bit better and to stay more focused in what you're doing. Another thing you can do is you can bring fluoride with you to class to help you study, and you'll remember information better. I will also say with fluoride, on the Mohs scale, it's a 4. So it's low down there. So it's, sorry, let me close the door. There's people talking about the AC in the hallway, and it's very hard to focus. How ironic. Oh yeah, I'm back. Sorry, I mentioned before everyone got here that AC conveniently broke right before I started, so it's a little toasty. Anyways, the thing with having the fluorite on you, as I mentioned so many times in this presentation, fluorite is very water soluble. So when you wear fluorite or have it on you, I often recommend to carry it around in a little I'm sure you have many or you've seen them. It's those little velvet bags or those little linen bags that you put rocks in and stuff when you go to store, like little gift shops and stuff like that. Keep it in one of those because even your sweat can actually erode the fluorite. It is very water soluble. So I'm gonna say for my booby rock people, don't put fluorite in your boob because I know those are sweaty, and the fluorite will melt in the boob. Not a boob rock. So always have it in a bag and maybe or like a little bag, and then maybe put it in another bag with you, or just set it out on the table as opposed to putting it in your pockets or anywhere else. Excuse me. And yes, I picked Pisces for fluorite. It is unfortunate, but Pisces were a little flighty. We're another water sign, and we are all about the daydreams. We like to be up in the clouds. We like to be anywhere but on this earth physically, which is hilarious because we're a water sign. Um, but if I can zone out and daydream for multiple hours, I'm content. But it is not helpful for when I have things I need to do. And so with fluorite, I think it's really, really helpful for even just water signs in general, but really specifically Pisces, to be able to come back down and to focus on the things that are around me and not be so just all over the place and never in the place I need to be. I speak from experience. Going to our next rock. Or was there any other questions? I don't think there was any.
Okay, no questions,
Okay.
but let's see. Joaquin wrote, the stone sort of gives me earthy vibes based off of its grounding and focused attributes rather than water energy that Pisces holds. The colors very much do give Pisces to me, though.
You're totally right, and that's the reason why I pick fluorite for Pisces, is because Pisces really need to be grounded. They need the opposite to be able to function. And as someone who has a partner who is an Earth sign, I can confirm from experience, Pisces really need that Earth energy. Homeboy hones me in. I'll tell you what. Fluorite is not boob. Right, got it. Yes. Laura's taking notes. For our next rock, lapis lazuli. I would say the royalty of the stones. So, birth month for lapis is September. It is on the most scale of, it's kind of like goes back and forth between 5 and 6, depending on how it's created. So just a little bit less hard than quartz is. So lapis lazuli is actually really interesting, not only for its like scientific or even metaphysical purposes, but it's insanely deeply rooted in history. That could be a whole other presentation in itself. It does, yes. Thank you, Laura. It helps with inflammation, which it's been used in history for decades and decades because of that. I mean, we're talking ancient Egypt, ancient China. It was so heavily sought after because of its colors. It's bright, vibrant blue, which doesn't, at least at that time, they weren't aware that it occurred as much as it does. But, it's still not a very common color that just pops up naturally in nature like that. I mean, it was used for sculptures. It was used to grind up and create paint. Ancient Egypt loved to grind this up and use it as eyeshadow. And it's just so old and well known. It's crazy. Oh, and the Greeks, oh my God, the Greeks loved lapis lazuli. It was crazy. They were like, can we make that can we use lapis to make that? Cool. Can we make that with lapis? Cool. Like it's so sought after for so long, which I think is incorporated with some of its abilities, which I'll get to in a second. So lapis is a great example of a aggregate. It's technically, I think lapis is actually a rock and not really a crystal because it is aggregate. And what it is, but it has crystals inside of it. Well, minerals, but as we mentioned, all minerals are crystals. Not all crystals are minerals. It's an aggregate form of lazurite, which is that bright blue that's in there. You often also see azurite growing with malachite. So sometimes you'll get a lot of malachite with those little tiny blue dots. That's azurite because they often grow together. For some scientific purpose I haven't looked up yet. It's also calcite, which is all of that, the white bit here inside of the lapis, and pyrite. which is all of those little gold flecks that you see in lapis all the time, which is also one of the reasons it was so sought after by royalty, is because they thought it was real gold. And that's also one of the reasons why that rich cobalt blue and gold are often colors associated with royalty. Lapis lazuli had a lot to do with that decision. So because it is so sorry, just love talking about lapis. I just think it's such a neat rock. Because it's so loved and sought after and has been used for so many things for so long, it has a really strong metaphysical property because people have put the intention of power behind it, because it's been used by royalty, it's been used by such powerful figures in history. And we also associate that color blue with spirituality as well. And the metaphysical properties that it can give you, or it can help out with, is inner vision, self-awareness, that deep intuition. That blue, I think, is also a really huge factor for allowing people to hone in on that self-awareness, on the, the third eye, if you will. Because I just think it is that impactful of a color, because you don't see that blue in stones that often ever, which is why it's just so well known. And the thing that I like, if I could put a quote or a motto behind lapis lazuli, it would be to take a lead in my own life. This stone is going to help you be able to take what you have and make it better, so that you can make your reality better. The crystal practice for it is you can meditate with lapis on your forehead, or what is often the area would be your third eye. Imagine being engulfed in that blue energy that is pulsing from the stone. Use this energy to reflect on yourself so that you can prepare for your future choices. These should be choices that will lead you to your happiness and success. And I think that this stone is a really great stone for my Leos out there, my other fire signs. I love Leos. I think y'all are great. There is this huge stereotype about Leos that I think is wildly misinterpreted, that Leos are very all about themselves, that they're very selfish creatures. I think that everyone has a level of selfishness in them. That's just human nature. You want to feel good. You want to feel good about yourself. You want to do things that, involve you, because you know yourself the best. At the end of the day, we just want to like ourselves. But Leos, I think, I don't even know how it gets misinterpreted, really, but Leos, they do love to be the center of attention, but they love to be in the center with other people that also want to be the center of attention, so that they can come together and create something great together. I know so many Leos, and they're very people. You know what I mean? People. They love to collaborate. They love to come up with ideas. They're so creative. I mean, a lot of Leos are actually historically known in theater because they just project this energy that's just so inspiring. It's that fire signs. I'm very jealous of you all as a water sign myself. Um, and I think lapis is really great for Leo because it can help them look at this quote unquote selfishness and apply it in their life and to others, so that it's more effective and healthier for them in the long run. I love lapis lazuli. It's crazy. Anyways, heal yourself so you can help heal others. Yes, that's exactly it. That's a perfect way to describe a Leo. They want to be the best that they can be so that they can be best for others. Bam. Done and done. Anyways, we're going on. Carnelian. Carnelian is crazy. I also loved how I decorated this page. Sorry. I looked at it and was like, damn, I did such a good job with this page. Carnelian is crazy to look at. Look at that thing. That thing grows on the earth and it's wild. So Carnelian's birth month, August. Its most scale is 6.5 to about 7. So it's roughly around there with quartz, durability wise. I did make a note about this. Go me. Thanks, past me. So someone's question earlier about relation to quartz. So carnelian is a chalcedony, which the best way to describe chalcedony is, like I said, it's kind of like it's a silicate, which is what a quartz is, but it's like this waxy like texture, kind of similar to agates, um, which is why it doesn't have that super clear look like a clear quartz does. But it has iron oxide impurities, which is what transforms it into this red. So anytime you guys see a stone that has red in it, it's because it has an iron impurity, which is why a lot of stones that have hematite inside of it often turn red over time or become like kind of dusty with a red color. So like there's lots of people that pick up quartz and see a red dust over it and think that it's rose quartz sometimes because it's just a really light one, and red eventually, in the color scale turns pink. But it's actually just a quartz with hematite impurities that have just been heated up and affected the coloration. Carnelian. Obviously, by the color, this stone's associated with fire. It's bright, it's vibrant, it's in your face. And with all of that, this stone allows you to have the courage to act. It's a life bringer. If I could pick one word for this stone, it would be passion. It's intense. It brings confidence to you when you work with it. It allows you to have a self-esteem about yourself. And much like I've mentioned with, all of the other fire signs, it allows you to also feel creative. It brings that spark of life into you that just allows you to come up with ideas one after the other. And as I mentioned about passion, it is also well known to enhance energy levels, which can also be related to sexual levels. So if you're someone that's just wanted to have a little bit more excitement in your life, or you feel like you want to work with your sexuality, carnelian's a great stone to practice with. And I know there's lots of people that also do sex magic and use their sexuality to incorporate into their spirituality a lot. And I think carnelian's a really easy stone for someone to start working towards that path, and it can really help elevate that practice for you. It's also a great stone to help you overcome fear and anger, because it allows you to feel confident with yourself to be able to handle situations, conflict. Maybe before you were like, I know lots of people don't like conflict. But sometimes it's important to handle conflict so that you can either improve the situation with that person you have conflict with, or to find out that, whatever is causing the conflict is something that you need to not have in your life. So it allows you to have that confidence to finally hone in on that conflict or problem and take care of it. It inspires action, and it enhances personal power, strength to overcome. Basically, if you feel like that you are hiding inside your own shell and you want to be someone that is able to spring to life, or you want to be someone that is just able to handle things, I think carnelian's a great stone to carry around with you. It just really lights a fire under your butt, and a great crystal practice, just wear it. It's that simple. It is just that. It does its job. A lot of people make carnelian bracelets, or they do necklaces with it. I think it actually makes a really great bracelet. Lots and lots of metaphysical places have those, stone bracelets that are always hanging on the wall, where they have like one of every single stone that's ever existed in the world. you're going to find carnelian. Or if you just want to plop it in your pocket, it is water safe, super water safe. So this one's a booby stone. This one's a booby stone. It's great. And this zodiac that I picked for carnelian is Virgo. Now, I mentioned my partner is a Virgo. So I know from personal experience exactly how Virgos are. And I can promise you, if you're a Virgo, get some carnelian. Earth signs. You are specifically with Virgos. You want to do what you know is best for you. You want to do what makes you comfortable. You want to do what makes you happy. The things around you need to be exactly how you want them to be in order to flourish. But Virgos, despite the fact they're not an air sign, they're very up in their heads. They're very also fact based. They want things to be done by the book, their book, not just any book, their book specifically. No hate to Virgos. I love my Virgo, but he wants things done by his book specifically. And but the thing with Virgos that I feel like is pretty common is that, they'll make all these lists, they'll make all these plans, they'll write all this stuff in their book, and then they'll stop. They have their book, and that's it. And then they'll make another book, maybe another book. But they won't do the things that are in their book a lot. And I feel like carnelian is a really important stone for Virgos to have, because it not only allows them to think it allows them to act on it and to feel on it. And my earth signs, I know y'all got emotions, but you bury it in the dirt. So you need to dig it up, and you need to act on those emotions and not just put it in a book. I have so many books. See? That's what I'm talking about. I love you, Virgos. The powerhouse. Black tourmaline. Mr. Black tourmaline himself. I'm also sure you guys know about this stone. And if you haven't, you're about to get taught. So black tourmaline, this is for everybody. There's no specific birth month. There's no specific zodiac. This is for everyone and anything. So scientifically, black tourmaline is mostly comprised of, I believe it's pronounced boron. I don't think I'm pretty sure it's boron. It's actually created during the hypothermal process, which the hypothermal process is just a mix of undissolved water from hot magma and minerals that fill inside the cracks. And then as it cools, it hardens and creates tourmaline, which is why it has all those ridges. It's because it was a substance that filled in all of the cracks and the ridges inside, and then hardened. And then you're able to crack it open and find it. This is the protection stone of all protection stones. Tourmaline is going to keep you safe from so much. I'm talking, psychic attacks. If you're someone that participates or is in a world that is often involved with this, it can protect you from hexes. I mean, any bad energy that is directed your way, tourmaline is going to be able to create a shield around you and keep you safe. It is so powerful. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know what makes it so strong, but it just is. And honestly, I'm not going to question it. It's going to do what it's going to do, and I'm just going to let it be. It has a very, very intense grounding energy about this, which if you are someone that carries tourmaline around with you, I often recommend energizing yourself afterwards to avoid feeling sluggish, because too much of anything is bad. Too much grounding, is gonna eventually have a negative effect. Being too up in the sky or being too when people do ascension, to bring them closer to gods, deities, heaven, just whatever higher power, you know, being connected to that spiritual essence, too much of it can also be bad because then you're too disconnected from reality. Um, so I think it's important to energize yourself after using it with any sort of long-term carrying of it, because it's going to do its job and it's not going to stop. It's just going to keep going. A crystal practice. I recommend this for everybody. It's so cool. You can just place tourmaline in high foot traffic areas in your house to keep the area safe of negative energy. And then, a little foreshadowing for the next slide, you can place selenite next to it to keep it cleansed. So it's kind of like this recycling effect. The tourmaline takes in the negativity, the selenite purifies the negativity and gets rid of it. So they're just helping each other out. And it's awesome and super effective. And I know tons of people who do this. My tourmaline now has chip flex. Does that mean I need a new one? Tourmaline, just the structure of it, even though it's a Mohs scale of 7 to 7.5, the crystalline structure of it can chip easily. And I think it's because if you can notice on the image here, there's a lot of like really, really tiny ridges that I would assume just are easy to chip off. I mean, if you're talking about like, if it's done its job, if you need a new one, I don't think so. I think sometimes rocks just shed. They just maybe just need to get something off of them eventually. Mine is tumbled. Oh, okay. No, I don't think you need to get rid of it. I think it should be perfectly fine. Whether it be just because, it accidentally got cracked, or the stone was like, there's a piece of me here that has too much negative energy and it won't go away. Get rid of it. Sometimes rocks just do things because they know what's best, and sometimes we're never going to know why. So, as I mentioned, selenite. Oh, I wish I had that sound actually playing in the video and not just me. But selenite, it's just has that kind of energy. So same with black tourmaline. It is not associated with a specific month. It is not associated with a specific zodiac. It is for everybody and anything, and I mean it. So quickly though, Mohs is number 2 on the scale. What the heck? Oh, sorry, the door opened. It is very, very soft, and it's very water soluble. It actually is so soft in the way that it is formed, it can create splinters and it can hurt. So when you handle your selenite, especially when it's in this type of formation here, the sticks, definitely want to be gentle with it. Don't toss it around, don't set it down heavily on shelves. Make sure it doesn't get anywhere near water, because you don't want one of those splinters in you. So I don't think you need to wear gloves with it all the time. It's just a rock that it's just one of those that need a little bit more tender love and care, a little TLC. So scientifically, selenite is a crystallized form of mineral gypsum. And this guy down here is actually also a type of selenite, but it's specifically called desert rose. They have the exact same type of chemical compounds. It's just that their surroundings is what made them grow in a different type of formation. I actually honestly haven't done a lot of scientific research about desert rose, and I'm realizing that I should do that in the future because it's really, really cool. But it does the same thing that a regular, selenite up here does. So selenite is actually named after the goddess Selene, Greek goddess. And the reason why it's so powerful is because the Greeks, in their lore, their history, they say that the goddess Selene themselves, or herself, gifted them this stone of purification. And they also call it the stone of the moon because of the way that it reflects similarly as like the moon in the sky. It is the cleansing crystal of all crystals. It does, you don't need to cleanse it. You don't need to do anything with it. Its existence in itself is cleansing. A lot of people love to get those huge logs of selenite, which are very dope, by the way, and they'll place their crystals on that log or plate. A lot of people will also make selenite bowls. You can put your crystals in there. Great and easy way to cleanse your stones without having to worry about if it's going to get damaged. And they also tumble selenite. I don't know how they do that because this thing is so sensitive, but they do it. And these are also great to like put in with your, if you carry rocks around with you, you can just plop that in your bag with you. Boom. You have something that's going to cleanse your crystals all throughout the day. It's great. Again, it's still sensitive, so be careful with it. Don't just huck the bag around. Selenite is not a booby rock. This is not, because you're going to put it in there. You're going to sweat. You're going to pull your bag out. Your selenite, poof, gone. Goodbye. Forever. Don't put it in there. It's a no-go. Sorry, my throat is really dry. One second. Moving on. So, because this was gifted by the goddess Selene, it has the healing powers of Selene, which is why it's so powerful. It can clear blocked energy. It enhances intuition because it's heavily associated with the moon. And the moon, if you know tarot really well, the moon is always talking about intuition, trusting your gut, all about your spirituality. Speaking of, it strengthens your spiritual abilities. Selenite is a great tool to use to allow yourself to be more open to accepting in spiritual energies. Or, if you really want to work with gods, goddesses, deities, selenite's a great tool to allow yourself to feel more connected to them. But always be a little careful. You don't want to get too close to them. That's when stuff starts getting a little weird. But much like the tourmaline, after prolonged use, it's really good to ground yourself after. Smoky quartz or citrine, stuff like that, that's going to help you come down, but not too down. And just overall, selenite has this ethereal radiance to it. It's just such a great stone to have. And if you don't have it in your collection, I highly recommend getting some. It's also super inexpensive, super helpful, and cheap. My favorite kind of thing. I already talked about it. Crystal practice, just use it to cleanse your other crystals. It's super great. All right, my book baddies. I have some recommendations for you because I was told that there are a lot of you who really like to read. So, right at the top of the list, The Crystal Bibles by Judy Hall. Judy Hall is so well known in the spiritual community for her knowledge about crystals. When I was working at the metaphysical store, we had these 3 books next to the register so that if we were still learning, or if there was just a rock we didn't know about and someone came up and asked us about it, we had those on hand to look up. Like, they are so helpful. They talk about the scientific properties, a little bit of the history of it, and the metaphysical properties. With Judy Hall, pardon my French, but she's that bitch. She is so cool. I love her books, and they also come in smaller forms, and I love that. The next stone, sorry, I've talked about rocks so long. The next book that I recommend is The Book of Stones. This was another one that we had at my store all the time. I would say it goes a little bit more into, I know it says who they are and what they teach, but it does talk a little bit more about the scientific properties behind it, more than the crystal Bibles. But it goes crazy in depth. Loved that book. I learned a lot from it. the last one here, oh, Crystal 365, that's what it was called, not 101. So this is the one that I referenced a lot for the crystal practices. This book is super awesome. It has so many rocks in there, some that I actually don't think I've heard of before when I got a hold of it. What's really cool about it is that this one really focuses on the metaphysical properties, and it gives you all different types of crystal practices, different types of meditations that you can do with it, why it does what it does metaphysically, and it really goes into detail about that. And what I think is really nice about the practices is that the practices are realistic in the sense of they're easy. Like when they say that they're daily, like you could do this every day, they mean it. They're very easy practices. They don't have a lot of steps. They don't require like really any extra tools or anything. It's just have that rock and that's all you need, and yourself. So I love it. It's really great for beginning to work with stones. And that's it, guys. Thank you for letting me ramble about rocks and crystals and just info dumping at you. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys learned something today. I see a question just popped up. I have a general question, but I worry about the market for crystals since some are very toxic to deal with, and the natural rock/stones makes me wonder if it's okay to mine them away from Earth. Will this cause issues to the natural way of life? That's a great question. It is really worrisome. Um, you know, not to get kind of existential about it, but um, corporate America really affects all aspects of life. It's just kind of, whatever your opinions about it, it is just what it is. And so a lot of people try to do everything as quick as they can with as little money as possible, which is what's, created, as I mentioned before, people just selling toxic stones and stuff like that. Which is why I think it's so important to teach people about this stuff. And I really recommend doing your own research. There's so much information out there on the internet. There's people on YouTube that talk about stuff. There's forums. There's all different types of websites. There's what's the word I'm looking for? Articles from different types of colleges and universities that like focus on geology. And it's just honestly the best way to handle that situation is just make sure you have the knowledge that you need to make sure you don't get a toxic rock or you don't get an unethical stone. And again, I will try to do my best to help you guys find a shop or a store online that is ethical to consume product from. I saw someone ask about astral projecting. Danbarite. So actually, I already had plans for a future lesson for more advanced crystal work. There is a collection of stones called Ascension Stones, and their sole purpose is to help you ascend and to do things like astral projection, feel closer to your gods or your deities. They are super crazy intense, though. So that's why I wanted to make sure they were for later practices, because I have a Dambarite. And as someone that, I work with crystals all the time. I touch it and my fingertips are like, whoa, what's this guy doing? He's making my fingers feel numb. It's crazy. So Dambarite is really great for that. But be careful. I'm really glad you guys enjoyed it. That makes me really happy. It makes my heart warm. I just like helping people out. Can you tell us a personal story of how crystals have helped you differently from how rocks have helped you? It can be spiritual, mental, or physical. Wow, that's a really great question. Um, give me just a second. Let me think. Let me search in my brain files. Um, hmm. I definitely feel like there's a lot more crystals that make me feel more connected to like my spirits or my guides and stuff like that. Um, as opposed to, like, I know obviously rocks and crystals come from the earth, but just something personally for me, something about crystals just feels more um otherworldly, I guess. And maybe that's just how they look, and that's just, how my brain processes it. While rocks, um really, they make me feel more connected to the earth. They make me feel more grounded and in the moment. Also, Courtney, if you want to pop up and say anything, I hope I haven't been interrupting you speaking up again.
No, no, you are good. You're actually like going through like all of the comments. I'm just like, go ahead, Logan. I'm gonna let you just do your thing.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you didn't have everything you wanted to say or anything. So,
Yeah.
because I just now noticed it's 9:01.
Yeah, no. So yeah, we actually are at the very top of the hour, but does anyone have any oh, actually, Logan, how
Mm-hmm.
can they get in contact with you? Because I know one because there are gonna be a lot of questions, honey. It's gonna be a lot of
Oh,
questions
absolutely.
about crystals. And then also you do have a Twitch, correct? You're online?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about more about like your contact information and how people can follow up with you?
Yeah, for sure. I would say for this specifically, I think the best place to get a hold of me is my Instagram, which is, should I just type that in the chat?
Yeah, that'd be
Because
great.
it's okay. Because when I say it's not going to be easy to try and spell. So this is my Instagram URL. Um, that's just kind of where I post all kinds of stuff, just daily things. But my if you ever see my Twitch, that's where I'm a little silly goofy. So it's a little bit different energy from what I am here. If you thought I was silly now, you'd be surprised. But I think my Instagram is going to be the best place to get a hold of me if you have any questions. And I also actually share some jewelers and stuff out there that work a lot with natural stones and lab created stones. Um, I used to share a lot more online uh, crystal stores, but I've really kind of stepped back from those to make sure I find the right place. So I'll also probably update um, on finding the right store there as well. And I also just repost a lot of really cool people who go rock hounding. So I post all kinds of crazy pictures of rocks on there. But yeah, absolutely reach out to me there. What is Twitch? Showing my age. You're good. I promise. So Twitch is a streaming platform where people can stream anything.
Mm-hmm.
They can stream playing video games, doing art, podcasts, interviews, just talking. It's a super cool website where basically people can be really creative or do what they're really passionate about and share it with people.
And oh, Marinella said that they have to run, but wanted to say
Okay.
that you're an amazing presenter.
Aw.
They loved it and thank you.
Aw, thank you so much. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh my God. Yeah. This was so good, Logan. And
Yay.
I know for myself, I am a novice with crystals. Like I even have like a whole little terracotta plate filled with crystals that I bought over the years, and I just don't engage with them because I'm just like, I don't really have enough knowledge. And now I'm kind of itching to go, okay, what do I have? How can I use it? And to get
Yay.
more comfortable and familiar with them. So I really do thank you. And guys too, we are doing this again. So if you have
Mm-hmm.
any ideas about topics that you want us to go over, whether they are beginner to advanced, please let us know so then that way we can figure out what kind of events and topics that we want to talk about, because we do want this to be an ongoing thing. So you all get the education and you all can build the relationships with crystals that's going to be best for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, if you guys reach out to me on Instagram, I will say I'm super slow to responding. And I just because I do this thing where I look at the message and then I respond in my head and then I don't actually type it. Um, maybe that might be the ADHD, but whatever. But if you do have a rock that you've had or you got it from somewhere and you can't remember that what they said it was, not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good at identifying rocks after all this time, or I'm really good at searching up stones and eventually figuring them out. So if you need help with identifying crystals ever or rocks, you absolutely can reach out to me on Instagram, and I am more than happy to try and figure it out for you, because it's like a where's Waldo thing for me sometimes, but it's like a what rock is this and how far do I need to search on the internet to get it? What's my Instagram? Here, I'll type it again for y'all. So this is my name on there.
And Fiona, I do see your suggestion for a topic. So like crystal combinations.
Ooh, cool. Let me write that down.
You see? Okay, so Tertobi also said, thank you. I have a crystal or stone that I have no clue what it is. Oh, Logan, if they do have a crystal or stone that maybe they are unfamiliar with, since you're part of the community now, you can actually see the event postings and like the event chat. You guys can post your crystal photos there.
That would be really helpful because they can all
well.
just be in one place. Yeah, absolutely. That would be great.
Oh yeah, and then if there's if there's one repeating stone, it'll also help us to go, okay, maybe we need to talk about this. So the more engaged you all are and the more vocal, the better, because we want to know what it is that you guys want to learn.
Heck yeah. And if there's one thing that I've learned, no matter what type of community it is, community is amazing because you can learn so much from each other and you can also be so helpful with each other. It is so important, especially, I mean, it always has been, but especially nowadays, it's really good to be with people that have similar outlooks to you and similar interests. It makes you feel very human.
Yes, it does. Yeah. And so, Tertobi, if you want to post the picture in the event in the event comics, I think the event chat is going to be disappearing in the first week of July. And if any of you all want to share photos of your favorite crystals or comment or have any kind of engagement on the platform, go for it. I think that'd be an amazing thing for us to be able to do.
And I just want to bounce off what Tammy said. She said, thank you, Courtney, for organizing these amazing panels. Yes, Courtney, thank you for organizing this. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this. It's my first time ever like doing anything like this, and it was a really great experience. Also, a really good learning experience for me. So thank you for like just creating this opportunity for a lot of people.
Oh, you guys are so welcome. Okay, I'm still working on taking compliments, so
it's a good thing to work on.
It is
because you deserve them.
Thank you. This was so much fun, and I'm so glad that you all are getting something from it. And it really is nice to be able to see the community grow, and there's excitement and engagement. And then I'm also seeing the connection. Like there's this nice little interweaving that's happening, and I'm seeing more familiar faces and new people, and there's just support overall. So I really appreciate every single one of you.
I'm relearning my crystals. Yes, Angela, slay. I love that for you.
Oh, and Angela's gonna come with questions next time. You just watch.
And I'm ready. I'm ready.
Next time you'll have your camera mic working. No worries, Joaquin. We are pretty casual over here. If you're having tech issues, you can't be on camera or you can't use the microphone, that's not a problem. That's why the chat is there. And if you do want to show your lovely faces, you all are more than welcome to.
And I kind of had this idea while I was doing the presentation, but next time we do this, I will have my camera up and going. I just didn't show you guys my face today because it was really hot, and I was a little sweaty, a little too dewy, if you will. But beside me, I have my entire collection. So next time I think it would be cool to have my camera on so I could show you certain crystals that I have for an even more visual representation.
Yes, you're going to enable everyone to go out and find all the crystal shops.
Find rocks. Find more. It's just something about getting rocks really just satisfies a little gremlin inside of you that just wants to, or maybe the little crow in you that just wants to collect all the shiny things. It's very satisfying. Brings out the childlike wonder in you, if you will.
Well, I'm here for it.
Me too.
All right. Well, does anyone have any last minute comments or questions for Logan?
Yeah, throw them at me if you got them. Or if you think of them later, like I said,
let us know.
let us know. Put it in the event chat.
Right. Shara says I spend hundreds easily.
It
Jesus.
I am so fortunate that I worked at the store that I did because I got a lot of free rocks. So someone asked like they're like, well, how much money do you think you spent on your collection? And I'm like, first of all, this is like a decade of work. Second of all, half of it was free, so I have no idea.
And you're like, and that's none of my business.
Yep, I'm not even gonna think about it. I don't want to know. That's for the rock and God to know, not me or my bank account.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, I will go ahead and wrap this up. You all enjoy the rest of your evening and thank you all for coming. You all take care. Bye.
Have a great rest of your night, guys. Thanks for listening to me ramble about rocks.